Hello, and welcome to Fisher Investments This Week in Review. The economy and markets can feel dizzying and ever-changing. That's where we can help. This weekly segment is designed to highlight a few things you might have missed this week, what they mean for financial markets, and most importantly, what they mean for investors. Now, let's review what happened this week. First, let's talk tariffs. On Tuesday, President-elect Trump announced his plans to pursue tariffs on imports coming from Mexico, Canada, and China. Now, while this kind of news can impact specific industries and countries, the broader reaction from the global stock market wasn't dramatic, meaning that markets may have already factored in such developments based on the rhetoric we saw on the campaign trail. We'd like to remind investors that it's likely much too early to tell which of these ideas will actually turn into policies and what effect they may have. For example, despite plenty of tariff talk during President-elect Trump's first term, the tariffs that were implemented then only cost tens of billions of dollars. While that sounds like a lot, it's tiny compared to the global economy, which is worth over $100 trillion. For now, while these developments are important to keep an eye on, we wouldn't recommend making any big changes to your long-term investment strategy based on either political talk or potential tariffs. Next, Federal Reserve policies and U.S. inflation. The Fed released notes from its November meeting where officials shared thoughts on inflation, interest rates, and what they might do next. While these notes often spark a lot of speculation in media, trying to predict what the Fed's going to do or isn't going to do isn't really something that long-term investors actually need to worry about. Investors also got a report on inflation from the Fed's preferred inflation measure, the Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, also known as PCE. The PCE ticked up slightly in October from the previous month's reading, but it's been coming down steadily and is nearing the Fed's actual target. Overall, this week's developments appear to reinforce that neither inflation nor Fed decisions pose a big concern for markets right now, which is a positive for long-term investors. Finally, an update on U.S. GDP. On Wednesday, the second estimate of U.S. GDP for third quarter of 2024 was released, which matched the first estimate of 2.8% growth over the same period last year. GDP data is subject to multiple revisions, and it's important to keep in mind stock markets don't focus on the past numbers like GDP, they look ahead. What really matters is future growth, not what happened over the last quarter. And when we look at things like consumer spending, corporate profits, and business investment, it's clear the economy is much stronger than many realize. We believe this positive momentum likely continues and could further fuel growth for stocks. And that's This Week in Review. To learn more about what we're watching each week, check out our other series, 3 Things You Need to Know This Week, which is released each Monday. You can also visit fisherinvestments.com for more insights. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe.